Nobody wanted to listen to me. Nobody cared what I had to say. I did everything in my power to get my foot in the door. Nobody was trying to hear it. And I got to tell you that a lot of the reasons and shit that people had was bullshit. What they really didn't like was my skin color. Yes, I'm accusing them of racism because that's what it is. I was even told by one of these people that because my skin color is this pinkish hue, white skin color that they like to point out, my prison experience wasn't as bad as people of color. Or I might have benefited from lenient judges and prosecutors and all that shit, and I've never benefited from anything like that. I've explained to most all of yous that I've gotten the max on pretty much almost every single one of my sentences, outside of a couple here and there, but everybody gets love. I don't care what color you are. Just a roll of the dice, man. If you're going with the public defender or anything like that, chances are you're screwed. But I think more so that it was my particular brand of prison reform, criminal justice reform that they didn't like. I believe in incentivized rehabilitation that leads to a complete restoration of all constitutional rights that have been forfeited with your being found guilty or accepting a guilty plea. I believe that all your constitutional rights should be restored after a period through incentivized rehabilitation. So you work towards bettering yourself, and it's incentivized through the restoration of your rights because it's better for everybody that way. A lot of people like to say, well, you broke the law. You broke the law. You shouldn't get anything. Well, who are you to decide? I always looked at it like if you create a bunch of desperate individuals, they're going to continue to do desperate shit. And sorry, I'm scratching my eye. These allergies are fucking driving me crazy. This wind is blowing some shit around. So, yeah, they didn't like that idea. Many of them are perfectly content with not having their gun rights back. Many of them don't even realize that they can never get federally bonded. They can't, run for federal public office or anything like that. They can't sit on a jury. None of that stuff. So you really are a second-class citizen after you break the law. And I've also tried to explain to these people that whatever criminal act that you do, it's between you and the affected party. I was trying to get them to look at it in that light as well, and they wouldn't do it. So all in all, I had a bunch of people that were looking at me like, oh, no big deal. And I got out before Alice Marie Johnson, and now look at her now. Sitting at the president's desk getting a pardon. A woman who was selling crack to the people in her neighborhood. Yeah, she probably didn't deserve a life sentence, but what has she done to deserve to get a pardon outside of knowing Kim Kardashian? Do you see what I'm saying? It's all about who you know. It's not what you do that has any bearing on how they look at you. I deal with the federal court systems and shit like that look at me like a piece of shit because I robbed a bank with a note. They're perfectly fine with running me through the ringer all the way to the end. No clemency, no commuted sentence, no pardon. And I'm not saying I deserve any of those things. All I'm saying is that I don't know the right people. But getting out and starting a nonprofit organization, Stand for Something Life Incorporated, trying to get interns to work for me from the colleges, you get real-world experience. I got an EIN number. I'm established in the Secretary of State's office here. Everything, couldn't get no help. Did daily Facebook videos, spend countless hours writing letters, sending books, doing all these things, constantly reaching out to all these people in like Cut 50 and other places, all of them giving me the shine. Even one guy who was an author, his name is Shaka Senghor. I was on him day in and day out because my mother saw him in a documentary. And she wanted me to reach out to him. And then some woman who now has unfriended me on Facebook because she don't like my political views, tried to put me in contact with this guy, and he never even gave me the time of day. He's like, well, I can't help you with anything, man. I'm trying to be a father to my son and all this and this and that. 2 days later on his Facebook, I see him promoting some other guy that just got out of prison and hasn't done shit. So finally, what was the straw that broke the camel's back was I was on a Zoom meeting with a bunch of people in the criminal justice reform world, and I was listening to some dude from the San Francisco chapter of Black Lives Matter crying and whining about how he broke the law because of his skin color. He could never get nowhere in life. And I straight up commented and said, that's bullshit. You couldn't get nowhere in life because you didn't want to get there. It had nothing to do with your skin color. Oh, but it did. I go, so I'm looking at a doctor who has your same skin color, and I'm looking at a politician from New Jersey that's your same skin color. What stopped them? They have the same, they're in the same circumstances that you're in. They grew up in the same environment. You chose to break the law. And you see, that's the problem. I won't embrace their victim stance, their victim role mentality of criminal justice reform. Their idea of criminal justice reform is opening the floodgates and just letting everybody out of prison. Many of these men and women aren't prepared to do that. They're not prepared for those streets. My plan was simple. You want to get out, you have to incentivize rehabilitation. You have to go through psychological treatment, deal with emotional intelligence, cognitive behavioral therapy, all these things. Work towards paying off all your fines. Go to school, get your diploma, get some degrees, all of that shit. And then be placed into a reentry center where they actually give a shit and they point you in the right direction and they teach you how to balance money, open a bank account, do all these things, stuff that normal people do every day. Everything that I did, I didn't ask for nothing. I didn't ask for no handouts. I didn't ask for anybody to feel sorry for me. I busted my ass every single day. I went to work in a dish pit wearing flip-flop thongs on my first day at work because I didn't have any work shoes. Nothing. I didn't complain. I didn't play the victim role. I just did the shit. I grew up with almost nothing. I grew up poor. I didn't make that as an excuse. I used to use all kinds of different factors as my excuse. The same thing as how they're still doing it. Blaming society, blaming tough laws, blaming the cops, blaming everything. But the truth of the matter was that I was the person that put myself in prison through my choices. The same thing that he did. They didn't like that. They didn't like to hear the truth. So they shut me out. One guy who works for a Cut 50 initiative won't even let me talk to Van Jones. I said, give me 5 minutes of your time. I got this book called An Imprisoned Mind. This was before The Laughing Boy. I got an amazing story to tell you. I have figured out the recipe on how to stay out of prison. I've done all these things. Just give me 5 minutes of your time and I'll share them with you, and then you can help me push this platform, this message. They didn't want to hear it. That's why I say that you get a lot of these people that don't deserve to be where they're at in these positions in the public eye because of their optics or because of who they know, not because of what they did. I see people talking about how good they're doing. Oh, I've done this since I got out of prison. I've done that. They've actually done nothing because they live off of other people. And the problem with using those people as a role model, as I've said, is they're not painting you a real picture of what it takes to keep yourself out of prison. They're not giving you the whole story because they don't really have a story because everything's been given. They were blessed to have a solid support system in front of them. I had to create mine. I had to build mine myself. And that's what I'm trying to teach a lot of these people, because over 90% of the people that are getting out of prison don't have all these things. They don't have the rich girlfriend that they were set up with that lives in a high-rise apartment. They don't have rich parents, rich grandparents, celebrity figures and stuff like that are connected to other people to push them through. Same thing with Alice Marie Johnson. She had a freaking limousine pick her up from the gate after she got her sentence commuted, because Kim Kardashian went to the White House and got it done. What about all the hundreds of thousands of people that are in prison that don't have Kim Kardashian? That don't have, like, some kind of supplement company, that don't have a modeling agency, that don't have a TV show on the Family Channel or whatever. What about those people? That's what I was trying to focus on, and nobody wanted to hear it. What do you mean incentivized rehabilitation? What do you mean getting your gun rights back? That's crazy. That's ludicrous. Why is it? The only way that you are truly free is if all your rights are restored through your hard work. Busting your ass every single day because you know you are working for something that's going to benefit you in the long run. That thought needs to be planted in all of our minds. Yeah, I broke the law. I chose to do that. I chose to put myself in prison. Now, what do I need to do in order to get back to the status that you're at? What do I need to do to get forgiveness from society? Or are you just going to always condemn me and label me a criminal forever when that doesn't define who I am today? It takes hard work. It takes time. My family didn't want to have nothing to do with me when I got out. I had to work towards that. Now I'm an important figure in their lives. A lot of times they depend on me. They never did that before. That's incentivized rehabilitation. All of those things. Understanding you have zero when you get out. But if you create a solid foundation and a workable plan and you set goals, you'll get there. How does society and the system meet you halfway? They incentivize all the steps you take. They reward your hard work by restoring some of your rights. But nobody wants to hear that. Everybody wants to play this, oh, woe is me, I'm a victim, I'm a person of color, I grew up in poverty, or my mother was a drug addict, prostitute, and she abused me. All these things people use as their excuses, when in reality you chose to go that path and commit those crimes. But nobody wants to hear that in criminal justice reform, in prison reform. So I got the fuck out of there, and I became an arrogant, sarcastic asshole on Prison Break Raw. This is how I'm doing my prison reform. Keeping myself out of fucking trouble, keeping my nose clean, talking shit on here, pointing out all the bullshit and all the phony baloney ass people, and trying to bring you some powerful content about whatever. And that's just what it is. And quite frankly, a lot of those people in criminal and prison reform can really go fuck themselves. Because it's just like, how dare you tell me to sit down and shut up and clap when I'm told to clap? I'm a white man and I need to be put to the back of the line and act as a cheerleader for all of them. And they're bullshit and they're crying and they're making excuses for themselves. Not going to do it. Part of the reason why this channel was born was because of all that, and I ain't going to do it. So this is what it is. You already know what it is. You heard it right here. Prison Break Raw, uncut, uncensored, no holds barred, non-sugarcoat, not politically correct, all up in your face, slapping you with that dick of reality, and I'm out.